Winter has been slow to loosen its grip on the Porcupine River. At last, the caribou are coming.
Grandfather caribou, he lives in the mountain north of here. And what he's doing is he's telling the caribou to go feed the people and go clothe the people, give the people shelter, give the people life.
Waiting has been hard, but the Untitled people of Old Crow Village have been patient.
So you think we'll have some success today? You think today's a good day?
Oh yeah, we're going to get caribou. Caribou's going to come.
The pull of the Porcupine River is strong. It's where the massive herd gets its name. And as they've done for generations, the Porcupine Caribou, more than 100,000 of them, are making the long migration from their winter feeding range in Canada to calving grounds on the edge of the Arctic Ocean, deep inside America's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, ANWR.
We call it the womb of the caribou because it's where they have their young, and it's the only sensitive place and the most environmentally friendly place that the caribou can actually have their young, and the mortality rate won't be so as high.
For the Gwich'en, who call themselves the Caribou people, the coastal plain in the high Arctic, beyond Alaska's Brooks Range, is sacred. But it's also central to the US President's plans for increased energy production. George Bush wants to allow oil companies to explore the calving grounds. If the industry and its supporters have their way, the caribou will have to share.
An ANWR in the coastal plain. In the wintertime, it's a frozen wasteland. In the summertime, it's a mosquito-infested bog. And to go in there and to allow exploration to determine if there's oil or not is not going to damage the coastal plain at all.
For one Old Crow family, prayer opens a celebration.
Jesus Christ.
7-year-old Jay Charlie has shot his first caribou. It's one of 300 animals likely to be taken this spring harvest. The meat will be prepared in the time-honoured way, in his grandmother's smokehouse.
I don't know, this year we never see caribou a long time. We're just hungry for meat. All that caribou came.
What do you eat if there's no caribou?
Store meat.
It's not as good?
It's good, but it costs too much.
On the Porcupine River, it seems every boat in the village is out.
I'm just going to ride up this way a little ways just to see what we got up here.
One of Old Crow's senior hunters, Joe Tedlici, is looking for a bull. The cows, many pregnant, always cross first. The bulls follow. In the swift-flowing current, the caribou are helpless.
We're just going to land down here where it's a nice rocky beach rather than on the mud. We have a nice place to skin the caribou.
For Joe and his 5-year-old son Jamie, the hunt isn't a weekend pastime. It's a way of life. Change has always come slowly here. Tradition matters.
Usually what we try to do when we skin the caribou is make sure that we try not to make too much holes in the skin, because we might use the skin for tanning. And
The harvest will provide meat for the summer. From the head to the hooves, nothing is wasted.
this is not only an environmental issue, this is a human rights issue. And we want these caribou here protected for future generations, so people can, my children, my great-grandchildren can experience what I had when I was young. And the only way to do that is to educate people so that they can understand why it's important that we're trying to save the Arctic Refuge.
The future of the porcupine caribou is shaping as a key issue in whether to allow oil exploration. At Old Crow Airstrip, a research team has arrived to begin an aerial survey of the herd. They'll trace up to 100 cows.
Well,
Hi, Fred.
wow. Welcome to Old Crow.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah.
The animals wearing collars that send out tracking signals.
We had some signals at Timber Creek, which is that's across the hill from Babbage River.
Are there still radios south of the river?
Yeah, there were 2 days ago.
In their tiny Super Cub made of stretched canvas and aluminium, pilot Dennis Miller and researcher Patty Del Vecchio will spend hours searching. Looking for the collared cows and any newborn calves on the herd's 600-kilometre trek.
All right, well, I'll start descending. We'll see if we can see it. It looks pretty mottled up there.
But there's caribou everywhere. Look, scattered all through there.
For those lucky enough to witness this unique natural wonder, there's a clear message.
If every citizen in our country could experience and see what I've been fortunate enough to see and experience, there would be a very strong message sent to protect this place and keep it. It's too valuable.
There it comes.
Hey, 2 antlers.
No calf that I saw. I'll swing around and make another pass.
Since a peak 12 years ago of nearly 180,000, the herd has been in steady decline. 3 years ago, it had shrunk to 130,000 animals. And that was before 2 back-to-back late springs, when calves born outside the coastal plain have to struggle through deep snow.
And these lakes down in the Old Crow Flats are too much water, too much snow still.
Later, after 8 hours flying, the team is comparing notes back at base. The news is gloomy.
There's a fair amount of random calves out there. They aren't showing up so much with all the collared animals, but they're not infrequent.
Yeah.
And they're walking, they're dropping them and
that's
getting in line, which is tough on the calves.
Yeah.
For the caribou biologist, the fragility of the porcupine herd makes the prospect of oil development all the more worrying.
The United States Geological Survey, in their most recent assessment of petroleum potential in the coastal plain of the Arctic Refuge, is that there are many scattered small deposits that would need to be developed, and that means a proliferation of infrastructure on the surface, which causes more potential problem for caribou because there'll be several sites developed with roads and pipes connecting them that may contribute to more of a problem for the caribou.
I personally don't believe that the caribou will be impacted if there's development on the coastal plain. It's been done here and it's been done correctly and with really no impact to the caribou.
Northwest of Old Crow, centred on Prudhoe Bay, America's giant North Slope oil fields already stretch across much of the coastal plain, stopping short of the calving ground inside ANWR.
For 20 years, as the North Slope fields have grown, the refuge has been off limits. But for conservationists, the deal to preserve the Arctic wilderness came with a sting in the tail. In fashioning a compromise in 1980, the US Congress left open the possibility of oil exploration on the last 5% of the coastal plain that wasn't already subject to development. It was called the 1002 area. A tiny fragment of the whole wilderness, its ambiguous status guaranteed the bitter and emotional debate that's followed ever since.
Eager to show the advances in technology and how safe oil production can be, we've been invited to BP's Arctic operation in Prudhoe Bay.
The field has 1.2 million total in the field, and as technology grows, this will be coming online sometime in the fall.
Across the North Slope, a frenzied search is underway for more oil. Production peaked back in the 80s and has been falling ever since. Though the figures are disputed, geologists believe that underneath the tundra of the 1002 area, the oil companies could find another 3 to 16 billion barrels of oil. The US consumes about 7 billion each year. And by using new techniques, smaller pads and advances in directional drilling, the industry says it would leave only a small footprint on the calving ground.
It's a technique where you first drill down in a vertical direction, and then you turn the drill bit and you actually drill out in a horizontal direction so you can reach away from your drilling island or your platform.
And what's the advantage of that?
Well, certainly you don't have to build as many drill sites. You can build one central drill site and then develop the reservoir in all directions from that drill site.
With gravel roads and hundreds of pipelines, the industrial sprawl of the North Slope fields now reaches over some 2,000 square kilometres. And though we stop for what our guides describe as wildlife opportunities, there's no denying the impact on the Arctic landscape.
The oil companies here on the North Slope already have access to 95% of the coastal plain. Why do they need the last 5%?
I think the question to ask is why not? You know, that area was set aside. It wasn't made a wilderness. It's part of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, but it was set aside specifically so Congress could decide in due time whether it should be open for oil and gas development. You know, there's nothing over there now, and some people just don't want anything there, regardless of, even if you can do it right, they just don't want anything over there.
Bill Van Dyke says the Gwich'in aren't the only indigenous peoples of the Arctic. He suggests we talk to the Inupiat Eskimos because they've lived with big oil and know its impact. "30 minutes out of Prudhoe Bay, under low-hanging sea fog, lies Nuiqsut.
Welcome to Nuiqsut.
A tiny village on the coastal plain, the Inupiat Eskimos who live here find themselves increasingly surrounded by oil activity. Unlike Old Crow, Nuiqsut is still waiting for the spring hunt, waiting for the ice to release the Nechilic River.
We got almost practically pipeline completely surrounding this whole village, with NPRA on this side and Alpine on this side, and now they just discovered another oil field over on this side of the river.
The development and the oil money has brought a building boom. The village is about to get natural gas courtesy of a pipeline from a nearby Phillips oil field. And there's a $7 million water and sewer system being installed. At the only gym, at the only school, 3 village basketballers are being sponsored by oil companies to travel to a high school tournament in Australia.
All right, in about 6 weeks, close to 6 weeks, we got 3 guys going to Australia. They'll be a part of the Alaska team. With the 3 stand-up, Michael, Vernon, and Sam. These 3 young men are going to represent the state of Alaska and this village at Australia this summer next month.
Down the road, the city hall has been swamped with grants. But all this money hasn't brought universal support.
3 years in a row now, we've had real troubles with caribou harvesting because of the new pipelines out there. They're so close to the community. They're deflecting the herd, plus the activity of the choppers bringing equipment back and forth. That's causing us the hardest problem.
The village mayor and deputy mayor are meeting with a scientist from Alaska's Department of Fish and Game.
You know, one crew's flying this way, another crew's flying that way, and it looks like there can be an awful lot of that disturbance here.
People that are trying to live a subsistence lifestyle are very frustrated because now the impacts of development has come very close to home, and now our hunting grounds are being developed.
Do you trust the oil companies?
I don't trust them at all. They have people who are public relations people that come to the community. They are told to say this and that. They try to decrease conflicts, but they have no power to make it work. And so they come out here with all these things and, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, let's try that. Oh, I'm sorry, did we cause a problem? Well, I'll tell them that. But in reality, they don't have the power to stop it.
Concern over their caribou hunting ground is nothing compared to the outright alarm in Nuiqsut over what offshore exploration might do to the annual whale harvest. Between September hunts, meat and muktuk is stored in ice cellars beneath the permafrost. Whaling is as central to this community as the caribou are to Old Crow. Mayor and whale captain Eli Inupiat proudly talks of catching whales that can be 3 times as long as his boat, using a harpoon loaded with a homemade bomb of highly unstable black powder.
Yeah, this is the palm, whale palm that we use to hunt this forehead whale. Okay. And the other one is a Carbington that had nothing and goes in like this.
And that's on the end of the harpoon?
Yeah, and you would just put this one in here like this and there'll be another line.
There are obviously lots of benefits to the town, buildings and things that you're getting now. Is it worth it? Do most villagers think it's worth it?
I don't think it's worth it because even though you say no to the development, they still continue to do it without our knowledge. But they say that it benefits the national interest of the United States as a whole, but it's destroying our and interfering with our hunting ground. Hunters just come and go, but the village of Nuiqsut will stay forever.
The juggernaut of Western civilization isn't going to slow down for these people. They're the deer in the headlights.
Oil money has flowed freely throughout Alaska.
It's fun, they're easygoing.
In Fairbanks, over 500 kilometres south of Nuiqsut, a former senior state government official, Don Lau, is holding a barbecue so we can hear the bigger picture.
I'm solidly in support of development in the North Slope. It means a lot to Alaska, lots of income that can provide the public services, public education, improvements in government services.
And it's little wonder. Oil revenues pay for 85% of the state budget. Alaskans don't pay state taxes. What's more, everyone gets an annual oil dividend. Last year's was worth nearly $2,000.
I look at Alaska and equate it with the old company town, where you have a single industry that supports the entire community. I think Alaska is like that.
I think that's a real problem politically in the state. The state is incredibly bizarre in a political sense because we all get a great deal of vested interest from the oil development, but we have no way of influencing our legislators in any normal democratic process because they are not beholden to us.
Is it healthy that the oil industry has so much influence over Alaskan politics?
Well, I don't think it is. I think that it's the 900-pound gorilla in Alaska, the oil industry, and it clearly has a major influence on the politics of the state legislature. And it's a difficult thing to maintain an independent view when that's the case. I mean, certainly they're major contributors to a lot of campaigns, and that has its effect.
As the hunters of Old Crow Village complete their spring harvest, they know that if it was up to most Alaskans, the oil companies would already be in the calving grounds of the Porcupine Caribou. But it isn't. Though they rely on the oil that's pumped along the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, the lower 48 states of America are more evenly divided, and because of that, the US Congress has shown some reluctance to open up the refuge. But America has a new president with a new energy policy. It says the country should produce more rather than consume less. The final decision will be taken far away from this extraordinary place. But with industry reaching ever deeper into the Arctic, there is another question to consider. Can there ever be a place or time to simply stop?